We often think of innovation as this rare flash of genius, like lightning in a bottle. But what if it wasn't about luck? What if you could actually architect your organization to capture that energy, not just once, but continuously? Well, that's what we're digging into today. The blueprint for making creativity the very DNA of your company.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about shifting our mindset, moving from accidental wins to intentional architecture. Then, we'll dive into the leader's crucial role, the foundational pillars you just can't skip, the systems that keep creativity flowing, and finally, how it all comes together to build one seriously powerful innovation engine.
All right, first things first, from accident to architecture. Look, this is all about a huge shift in how we think. We're getting out of the business of just hoping for good ideas to show up and getting into the business of intentionally designing a place where great ideas are pretty much inevitable.
And this slide really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? On the left, that's where a lot of companies live, occasional creativity. It's sporadic, it's accidental, and you just can't count on it. It's kind of like buying a lottery ticket and hoping for the best. But on the right, that's where we want to be. An innovative culture that's continuous, systemic, and just part of how you operate. We're trading in those lottery tickets for a well-oiled machine.
So who's in charge of this massive construction project? Well, that brings us right to section 2, the leader as architect. Let's be clear, this kind of transformation doesn't just bubble up from the ground floor. It absolutely requires a designer, a role model, and a champion right at the top.
So what does that actually look like? Well, these steps break it down into this really powerful loop. First, you've got to model the mindset yourself. Be curious, try things, be willing to experiment. Second, you reinforce it by talking about it all the time, just hammering home the value of new ideas. And third, you reward the effort. And this part is absolutely key. Celebrating an intelligent failure, something you learn from, can do more for your culture than just celebrating the obvious wins.
At the end of the day, a leader's job isn't to be the chief innovator. It's to be the chief architect, the person who designs a system where great ideas can come from literally anywhere. It's about making innovation a shared responsibility, not a solo act. Any great building needs a rock-solid foundation. And in section 3, we're going to look at the 3 essential pillars of an innovative culture. These are the absolute non-negotiables.
And here they are, the 3 pillars that hold everything else up. First, you've got psychological safety, which gives people the freedom to actually speak their mind without fear. Second, rewarded curiosity. This means you're actively encouraging those what-if questions, not just demanding answers. And third, flexible structures, which is really about tearing down silos and all that red tape so ideas can actually connect and grow. All 3 have to work together, take one away, and the whole thing gets wobbly.
Now, let's just double-click on that first pillar for a second, because it is truly the bedrock. Psychological safety basically means that everyone on your team believes they can toss out a wild idea, challenge how things are done, or even admit they made a mistake without getting shut down or punished for it. It's the oxygen that creative teamwork needs to breathe.
So as you look at these 3 pillars, just take a quick, honest moment. Which one is the shakiest in your organization right now? Is it safety, curiosity, or flexibility? Every building has a potential weak point, and just identifying yours is the most important first step to making it stronger. All right, with our foundation firmly in place, it's time to build the actual systems that bring this whole culture to life. Section 4 is the how-to. It's all about creating systems that keep that creative energy going every single day. You can think of this as your organization's operating system. This chart gives you a sense of how it all breaks down. A big chunk, 40%, is your organizational design, how teams are structured. Then you've got 35% for how you communicate internally and 25% for how you recognize people. The key is that all of these systems have to be aligned to support creativity, not accidentally crush it. And here's something that's so easy to forget. Being an architect is just as much about demolition as it is about construction. A huge part of your job is to hunt down and dismantle those old, clunky processes and outdated rules that are blocking the way for new ideas.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most exciting part, the payoff. After all this architectural work, changing mindsets, modeling behavior, building pillars and systems, what have you actually created? Well, you've built a powerful, self-sustaining innovation engine.
Think of this table as your final consolidated blueprint. You can literally use it as a checklist. Are your leaders modeling the right behaviors? Is your culture built on safety and curiosity?
And do your systems make experimenting the default, not the exception?
You see how it all has to connect? And this is why it all matters. This is the big win. You get a resilient organization where teams aren't afraid of change. They actually thrive on it. They adapt continuously, they experiment routinely, and they consistently push the boundaries, which is what ensures success, not just for this quarter, but for years and years to come.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought. I know architecting an entire culture of innovation can feel like a massive job, but remember, every great structure starts with a single line on a blueprint. So the question for you is, what's the first small intentional design choice you're going to make tomorrow to get started?